Hey, how's it going? Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. My name is Sky McLeod. I'm the Director of Media Education here at BRIC, and I'm really thrilled to welcome you all to tonight's screening. Just a little bit about BRIC. We're the largest free and low-cost host of arts and cultural programming in Brooklyn, and one of the largest in New York City. And a little bit about media education. We serve several different locations all around Brooklyn. We have about 500 to 600 classes a year, and I'm really proud to present this class, which is a very experimental filmmaking class that Liam will go into greater depth about. Yeah, it's a really wonderful experience seeing all of these filmmakers come in and learn all the production tools to create the films that you're about to see. And if you're interested in learning more about our programs, please check out bricartsmedia.org/BME. We have a lot of programming that you can take for free or low cost. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liam to start the show. Thank you very much.
Oh, there you go. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Good. Thanks for coming out. Wow, we're here. We did it. We made it. That was for a very specific group of people. So my name's Liam Billingham, and I am the adult education specialist here at BRIC. I come from a film and theater background. And this class, the Intimate Eye class, which has this wonderful logo up behind you, began as a class where we wanted to teach the filmmakers, students, about the process of sort of making films and thinking about it somewhat as a director might, especially directors who have experience working with actors, so thinking a little bit about theater. That was the first incarnation, which we did last year, and it has evolved since that time into what we like to think of it as a collaborative filmmaking experience, which is almost, in some ways, film is very collaborative in general, but we envisioned it kind of having an ensemble feel, which is very contrary to the way that films are often made. They're usually the visions of a single voice, a single director, and we wanted to experiment with that and push back against it, and that was sort of what was experimental about this experience. In terms of figuring that out. And we're going to have the students in the class come up and talk a little bit more about that after we screen some of these films. We have 3 films for you tonight, and we're going to be running those in a few minutes. But I just wanted to take a pause and talk for a minute about the scope of this thing. I have some footage here, which is from the very first day of class. And the students in the class don't know I'm showing this, so sorry. But this is material. We gave them an assignment where we said, you have an hour or 30 minutes, I don't remember how long it was, to use these 4 pieces of dialogue to make a film. And they had to make decisions about what the story was based on the dialogue. They had to make decisions about what was happening based on the dialogue. And, you know, it's rough and tumble and shot on iPhones, but it was a really interesting way to start. It was 4 people in a room trying to figure stuff out. And that's kind of what this entire class has been, is about a group of people trying to figure something out, but on a really large scale. We shot and edited 3 films in 4 months. We had a team of 12 students who were artists. We had 4 teachers, professional sound designer, professional sound recorder, about 7 professional actors, 3 directors, 3 playwrights. If you consider the scope of something like this, it's really, really massive, and the fact that we're all here is really incredible, and this is where we started. So I just wanted to point that out as, ooh, pizza box. I just wanted to point that out as we go, that the whole process of this class has been about learning from an ensemble perspective and learning from one another. And you're gonna see the fruits of their labor. I don't know what's going on behind me right now, but I'm sure it's interesting. We're not going to watch all this footage because we have a lot of films to get to. The first film we're going to watch this evening is called Stillwater, and it was written and directed by Mark Lee, who was in the class previously. Mark, will you come on down and talk for a minute about Stillwater and writing and directing it? Thank you, Mark Lee. So what's going to happen is Mark is going to talk a little bit, introduce the film, and then we're going to go straight into that film, and afterwards we're going to come up and have some of the students come up for a Q&A. Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm going to stand over here. You can give me the mic when you're done.
We'll do
Okay.
that. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thanks, Liam. I think what I can tell you about, which will be really interesting, is the fact that I was a student, like one of these students in the first class, and then for the second class, I submitted a script, which I wrote with kind of like the class in mind, and then they also asked me to direct it once they accepted the script. So I have like a unique perspective on how the class has evolved, like Liam said. And what I can tell you is that it is unique for many reasons. The collaborative thing that Liam mentioned is very unique, and my view on it definitely shifted from the first class to the second because of course my role was completely different. And in the second time around, when I was the director, it definitely was challenging to be able to infuse what I wanted to into the project without trying to take ownership of it in some form. So that was very interesting. Also, it evolved much more in the way of filmmaking. I think in the first time, it really was supposed to be like a fusion of theater and film, and the idea was capturing theatrical performance. It kind of evolved from that to a much more filmmaking experience. And I think for what the class offers and for what people sign up for, it's really amazing the things that they get to learn and things they get to do. So that's what I'll say about the class. As for this film, it's just an idea that I had for a long time, which I thought might be perfect for this setting because the whole thing actually takes place in a room anyway with just 3 characters, which is kind of what films here are kind of perfect for. And I think probably it's best if I don't say anything more about it. One thing I will say, though, is that I had the incredible talent and dedication of the actors who worked on this project, a couple of whom are here tonight. And without their, and you'll see what I'm talking about, without their throwing themselves into this like 110%, it couldn't have worked just because of the sheer kind of ambition for it. So I really want to thank them for everything that they've done for this project. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
얘가 차를 좀 마셔야 될 것 같은데. 얼굴이 안 좋아 보여요.
She says you should drink some tea.
It's too hot.
너무 뜨겁다네요.
차는 원래 뜨거울 때 마셔야 되는 건데.
네, 당연히 그렇죠.
우리나라에 대해서 어떻게 생각한대요? 보나마나 아무것도 기억이 안 날 거예요.
She's asking what you think of Korea.
I haven't seen much of it. It's chaotic.
이분 볼 시간이 별로 없었다고 하네요.
꼭 봐야 될 명소가 몇 군데 있다고 전해주세요. 근데 요즘 같은 철에는
I'm sorry, what is she saying?
She thinks you should see some sights.
I didn't come here for sightseeing.
얘가 살던 곳이 어디라 그랬죠?
미국에서 작은 곳 말씀이신가요?
네, 미국에서요.
미네소타주요.
미네소타. 거기 많이 춥다고 들었는데.
She's asking if it gets really cold in Minnesota, where you're from.
Yes. Brutally cold in the winter. Bone chilling.
거기 눈이 많이 온다고 들었어요.
She's asking, does it snow very much in...
Stillwater.
Ah, yes, Stillwater. Does it snow very much in Stillwater?
God, yes. It can bury you. Nothing but white forever. Until you can't breathe.
눈이 많이 온다고 하네요.
TV에서 그 예쁘게 생긴 미국 여자애 봤어요. 스키에서 금메달 따네. 얼굴이 너무 예쁘게 생겼더라. 긴 머리에다가.
올림픽 경기 말씀이신가요?
예, 평창에서 열린 거. 뭐 TV로 보기만 했지만 그 여자애도 그 고장 출신이라고 들었어요.
She's talking about the Olympics. She says she saw an American girl win skiing gold medal.
I don't know. I didn't watch. I don't care about that, Mr. Beck.
이분 TV 볼 시간이 별로 없었대요.
Mr. Beck.
미국 여자애들은 고집도 세고 자신감이 넘치잖아. 그런 애들이랑 경쟁하면서 사느라고 힘들었겠어. 이렇게 평범하게 생겼는데.
She's curious about your childhood.
Mr. Beck, I didn't come here to talk about that. I need...
아주 행복하게 자랐다고 하네요.
What are you telling her?
I just told her you had a very good childhood.
But I didn't say that. Mr. Beck, please. I need to tell her.
난 정말 애를 위해서 최선을 다했을 뿐이에요.
Why is she crying? What is she saying?
She says she wanted what was best for you.
정말 무슨 말을 더 해야 될지 죽고 싶은 심정이에요.
Why is she saying that?
애를 품에 안았는데 애가 너무 작은 거예요.
사모님,
애가 울지를 않았다고. 피는 더 얼마나 많이 나든지 정말 뭘 어떻게 해야 될지 모르겠더라고요.
What is she saying?
she's saying that you're a very cute baby.
무슨 일이 일어났는지 기억이 잘 안 나. 아마도 기절했었던 것 같아.
She says she was confused.
Confused about what?
일어났는데 애가 거기 있는 거예요. 이 조그만하게. 피는 또 얼마나 많이 나든지. 무서웠어요. 뭘 어떻게 해야 될지 모르겠더라고.
Confused about what, Mr. Beck?
She didn't know what to do about you. She was all alone.
애가 울질 않았어. 난 혹시나
Mr. Beck, why is she talking about this? I didn't ask her about this. I don't want to know.
얘가 지금 뭐라는 거예요? 날 경멸하겠죠.
아닙니다. 그냥 사모님을 이해하고 싶어 할 뿐입니다.
정말 창피해요. 엄마가 돼가지고 애를 이해하는 게 당연한 건데 나는 얘가 쓰는 말을 모르니 내 잘못이지.
Mr. Beck, I don't want her to. I didn't come here to hear this. I'm not here to reproach her or to find out why. I don't care why.
난 정말 뭐가 잘못됐는 줄 알았다고요. 애가 울지를 않는 거예요. 가만히 날 쳐다보기만 하고. 뭐 정말 어떻게 해야 될지 모르겠더라고.
이해합니다. 다 이해하죠. 아무도 사모님 탓하는
난
사람
혹시나
없어요.
애가 벙어리나 아니면 사산이 됐는 줄 알았다고. 왜냐면 내가 애를 지우려고 그래서.
사모님 여기서 그런 말 하시면 안 됩니다.
내가 그랬다고. 내가 그랬어. 내가 실패했는데 실패했어. 내가 애를 벙어리나 아니면 바보로 만든 줄 알았다고. 난 내가 전응아를 난 줄 알았다고요.
Mr. Beck, please. I need you to tell her, to ask her.
애를 혼자 키울 생각을 하니까 정말 끔찍했어요. 정말 못하겠더라고. 그것도 혼자서. 차라리 자기한테 다 해줄 수 있는 부모가 낫지. 애를 위한 거였어요. 근데 누가 애를 그렇게 추운 곳에 보낼 줄 알았나. 미국 기집애들은 키도 큰데 그 속에서 얼마나 자기가 자꾸 못생기게 느껴졌을 거야. 그런 건 안 겪어도 될 뻔했다고.
Christine, she wants to apologize. She's apologizing. She wants you to know that she tried her best.
I don't need her apologies. What is she apologizing for?
She wanted what was best for you. She didn't know you'd be sent to a cold place with pretty American girls.
What?
Yes. She's worried that you had a difficult childhood with American girls.
얘기했어요. 내가 미안하단다고.
네, 말했습니다.
Mr. Beck, I'm dying.
얘가 지금 뭐라는 거예요?
Mr. Beck, I need you to tell Mrs. Cho that I'm in fucking pain and I need a bone marrow transplant to live.
얘가 지금 뭐라는 거냐고.
그러니까 사모님이 자기 잘 되기만을 바란 걸 알고 정말 기쁘다고 그렇게 말하네요.
I need to know if she'll do it or not. If she'll agree to get tested.
다 이해한대요. 정말 미국에서 행복하게 자랐다고 그렇게 말합니다.
다행이네요. 난 얘가 날 경멸하는 줄 알았어요.
Mr. Beck, please.
울컥했나 봐요.
얘가 꼭 약속해줘야 될 게 하나 있어요.
뭘요?
우리 아들하고 절대 연락하면 안 돼요. 걔가 절대로 알아서는 안 돼요.
당연하죠. 완전 기밀은 이 만남의 전제 조건이었으니까요. 이분도 다 이해합니다.
화가 난 것 같아요.
감정에 복받쳐서 그런 거예요.
I'm gonna die. Please tell her. Please tell her that I'm gonna die unless she helps me. Please. I'm never making it back to Stillwater.
사모님 잘 되기만을 바라는데요. 그리고 모든 걸 감사하다고
I'm never.
미국 부모님한테 보내주셔서 감사하다고
I'm gonna die.
사모님 뵙게 돼서 정말로 기쁘다고
I'm gonna die right here.
그리고 모든 걸 다
다행이네요. 백 선생님께 정말 감사드려요. 그리고 미네소타에서 행복하길 기원한다고 꼭 전해주세요. 눈 많이 우는 곳에서요.
Mr. Frank, please! Please!
Wow. How about another round of applause for those amazing. I'd like to welcome to the stage Jonathan Gibbs, Stefan Edwards, Tasha Joachim, and Shawana Riles. Give it up for these four amazing filmmakers. Here, take that.
Where's everybody else?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, we did it. We're here.
Yeah,
I
we're
keep
here.
saying that. Jonathan, I had a question for you. I'd like to ask you a couple questions. Would you be cool answering a couple questions?
Sure.
Cool. So, you were production manager on Stillwater, the film we just watched.
Yes.
You also served as an editor
Yep.
on the film. You did most of the editing, I think.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what the process of being a production manager was like, and then how it affected your editing, because it's unusual to do both roles.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, prior to the class, I didn't really know the different roles that were involved. You know, I knew about editors, I knew about production people, like the person behind the camera, maybe someone that would help make a storyboard. But through the class, I was able to learn different roles, and production manager was one of them. And I really had no idea what that was before, like the day of, or like, you know, the class. So it was a really important role to do, especially for me, because not only did I learn about filmmaking from a different perspective, but it taught me time management and like how to work with different people. And knowing what we got from that day and being in that role and then going into the editing bay, I was able to say, oh yeah, I remember that we did this thing on day one and we did that thing, because this film was shot in English and Korean.
Shot in 2 languages.
So I
In
got
2 days.
in 2 days. So I was able to use a bunch of footage and say, oh, okay, well, we can use this shot from the first day, the English one, but we can cheat it and
So being on set kind of helped you organize the material?
yeah, because I don't know how, like, like, is it typical that editors are on set? Probably
Not usually.
So if I were an
Sometimes.
editor that like just got all that footage, and I'd probably be like, nah, I'm not gonna do anything with this, or maybe I'll use it later. But I already knew that in my mind.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you. Shawana, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Will you tell us a little bit? Woo! Will you tell us a little bit about? You worked on sound on this film, right?
I
So will you
did.
talk a little bit about what you learned about sound?
Yes. Well, I was under the direction of Andre Sound.
Andre, where are you? You're here. Andre! You'll meet Andre later, for those of you
Yeah.
that don't know him.
Yeah. What I learned about sound is that it's like completely underrated because without good sound, you don't have a good film.
Amen.
You don't get the feeling, like it's like a heartbeat. It's a feeling in your ear that you get when you got good sound. So before this, I aired a couple shows on BRIC, and I knew I didn't have any direction for sound, so my sound wasn't so good. I'd be in the kitchen and I'm listening to the channel, and then somebody else's show, and it sounds great, and then my show comes on, it's so loud, I gotta turn down the TV. I'm like, oh, it's terrible. It's like the car that you hear driving down the street, and it's like the speakers blew out. That's what it sounds like. So it's not about, it can be too loud. It can be too loud and it can be too low, but with Andre's sound, it was just amazing working with a professional. You need professional sound in order to have a great film, and that's what I learned.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Tasha and Stefan, can you hand the microphone? You guys are going to have to maybe share, or I'll hand one off to you. You both were on the camera team.
Yeah.
Don't lean on her. You two were on the camera team, correct?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you talk a little bit about... Will you talk a little bit about how you approached shooting Stillwater? So interestingly, you all did a bunch of different roles on the day, so I'd love to hear about what that process was like. And I'm going to hand Stefan the microphone so you don't have to share.
Right.
Sharon is Karen.
So, your first question. My bad.
Can you talk a little bit about how you planned and executed the shoot for the camera for the shoot?
Right. So, reading the script first, the tone was pretty deep. I was not expecting it to be this heavy. So when I was reading it, I approached it like, this is extremely dramatic, but yet very beautiful and serious. So I was just the tone of how we almost broke the mic. The tone has to sort of execute the same way, in picture the way it was when we was reading the script. And for us, when we made the shot list and everything, we did speak to the director and the writer for Stillwater. I mean, it was my first time being behind the scenes because I'm usually in front of the camera. So for me, it was more important about the performance. So I really focused more on the acting in terms of when we shoot it. There was a very beautiful scene that you saw at the end when they're crying and they're getting emotional, and that's what I always thought of when we were shooting it. Let's make sure we get the best shot for that, and for very important parts in the film, in the script, key points. But for me, it was all about let me focus on the actors and their performances, and because they're the ones that bring it to life. So that's how I really approached it. Yeah, that's how I did it.
Well, reading the script, I didn't know it would look like this. I didn't have the same sight in my mind that the director had or the writer had when they drafted the piece. So I had to use my imagination to try to figure out how this is going to translate into a piece that you could see, that you guys seen not too long ago. So the challenge was to find out the tone of the film, the emotional state of the characters, and try to make that make sense or make it transferable so you can pick it up. How many people knew what they were watching when it first came on? Who knew who the two characters, or who knew the characters, who the characters were when it first got? I can't even see y'all, it's dark.
Yeah,
okay.
No one knew. Yeah.
See, because we didn't know either. So that's why we tried to make it make sense just by what we got from the script. So we gave it a shot and we got Stillwater.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
No problem.
We'll see you again. Thank you. Good work on the films. How about a round of applause for these amazing filmmakers? Can I have that microphone back? Thank you. Yes, please. So, moving right along, I have yet to mention another major player in the process of making these films. We brought him on early on in the process. His name is Sean Mannion, and I would like to welcome him to the stage to talk a little bit. Sean, I tried to think of nice things to say about you, but I couldn't think of any. You do. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll go right in. You can introduce the next film. Where'd you go? Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Sean, ladies and gentlemen. Got more applause than I did.
No, I didn't. Hey, I can sort of see the people out there. My name is Sean Mannion. I'm an instructor here at BRIC. I teach a lot of post-production classes. I do some of the production classes. And outside of BRIC, I've been an independent filmmaker in New York for the last 10 years, give or take. And I also dabble in a lot of different things. When Liam mentioned this class and the workload and what was going to be done, I hung up the phone. No, I was really excited about it. I thought it was really interesting. It's the sort of class that I think is really valuable for people who, like most of our students, had participated in some level on media production. And maybe they had one role, maybe they're in front of the camera, maybe they had some roles behind the camera, like Shawana was saying. She has a show here at BRIC. But they maybe hadn't necessarily done a whole narrative piece on their own, or they hadn't done it on the sort of scale with the sort of production support and gear support that we were able to give them, and learning different roles, having to cycle through different roles. So I was really excited about that part of it when he started describing to me, yeah, they're going to cycle through and we're going to do 3 films, and it's we're stripping out sort of concerns about location and some concerns about production design by we're just going to do it in the studio. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Okay, let's do that. So I came on, I think by the 2nd or 3rd class, and we worked on Stillwater, which you just watched, which is interesting because I think that's a little bit more of what you imagine when somebody says, we're going to do a film of something that you would see in a black box theater. It's some people sitting, talking. The background is black. There's not really anything other than like a table there. But then we had this next film, Where'd You Go? And Where'd You Go doesn't take place in a room. Where'd You Go takes place on the street. It takes place outside a house. And so I thought it was interesting to watch the class go through that production challenge, because we are still shooting in Studio A with a black curtain behind them, but they wanted to convey that we were on the street. And so one of the things that I've said since I started filmmaking, much the same way that some of these guys have, with just kind of jumping into doing things and taking classes like this, is that filmmaking is fundamentally problem solving. And so the problem here was turning Studio A into a street. And so I think it'll be interesting for you, it's certainly interesting for me, to see how that was done. So without me talking anymore, here's Where'd You Go?
You're not even gonna give me a bag? You're just.
I've done enough for you. I have done enough.
Oh, you have done
okay?
enough for me.
You are a guest here. You're
okay,
a guest
honey.
Here, okay?
You are being ridiculous.
I'm being ridiculous.
Yes, you were being ridiculous.
Right, that's enough.
I just don't feel like it should end like this. I mean, never at the beginning of our relationship would I have thought that I would be kicked out by a man who I thought loved me. Never would I have thought that I would be told, oh, sorry, that's it, and so quickly. You are a total traitor, and I hate you.
Stop that. And please get off my porch.
Just like so many things that I would do differently now if I knew. Hey, no matter what, at the end of the story, you're destined to lose. In fact, you grovel.
Hey, this isn't about destiny.
No. You know what? I was fated to have this ending.
You chose this.
I will give you the $5 to take me back.
Ugh, that's too low.
10.
Higher bid.
25, and that is literally as much cash as I have on me right now.
Listen, no matter how much money you give me, it's the trust that's broken.
Ben, come on.
No, I don't want to hear it. Just go back to your house and let's forget the last year and a half ever happened. I thought I knew you, but I was wrong. You were just this woman I met on the internet who flashbang became my girlfriend, and flashbang, I walk in on you, ordering something on my Amazon Prime, and that's too much. I did not give you permission to shop and buy things on my credit card. There have to be limits.
I was just getting some toilet paper because we are out.
Really? There isn't some in the back pantry?
No, there isn't. I checked.
Oh. Really? I could have sworn I got some.
Yeah, well, we go through toilet paper like crazy. So.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Okay, so point being, I was just gonna get some toilet paper. It's not like I was gonna get, I don't know, like a pony or like a self-pedicure station. I was just getting something that I thought would immediately benefit both of our lives and also at a very low cost.
Well, you should have asked first.
Well, now I totally see that. And yeah, yes, I got on your computer and I tried to buy some, and in retrospect, that was a bad idea. I own that.
It's stealing.
You are overreacting.
I know. I wish I wasn't like this, but you know what? I am. Here's your underwear.
Thanks.
It's just like, no matter how much money you give me to make up for the cost of the toilet paper, it's not about the actual dollars. It's about my feelings, my male feelings, which I know are ignored in most popular magazines.
Okay, most people cater to male feelings.
Where'd you read that?
Just like general world observation.
Universal doesn't mean personal.
Oh my God. You are such a baby. Such a wordy, literate baby.
Whatever. I feel what I feel, and I won't apologize.
Okay. Oh. Hi, Mom. Yeah. Yeah, everything's fine. How are you? Okay, well, if they're not treating you well down there, I will come down there and I will give them hell. Okay, Mom, maybe you will learn to like your down the hall neighbor. Well, I mean, she's just down the hall. It's not like she's living with you. Oh, screw her. Oh, Ben? Yeah, we're actually in a fight right now. He's in one of his moods.
I resent that.
Yeah, he's mad because I bought some stuff for his house on his Amazon Prime account. Yeah, right? That's nice. Yeah, Mom, he can be a little overdramatic sometimes.
Give me the phone.
Oh.
What? Just... Hi, Casey. It's Ben. I'm such a big fan of yours, Casey, and how you always thought I was such a great guy. I hear your down the hall neighbor's giving you trouble, so screw her.
Yeah, Mom, you're right. He is being pretty weird. Yes, I hope things work out too. I think he would really regret it if he let something stupid come in between us. And I would really regret it too because I really thought he was special, you know? I really thought that. And oh my God, Mother, you cannot just ask me if I am pregnant. No, obviously not. Mom, Mother, you know what? I hope the lady from down the hall, yeah, I hope she eats you. Yes, I hope she eats you alive, okay? All right. Goodbye. Goodbye, Mother, okay? Ugh. God.
I'm sorry. I was a jerk. I'll give you $5 to take me back.
That's too low.
10?
I don't know. You were a real jerk.
Okay. What if I say I'm sorry over and over again until you actually hear it, and then once you know that I'm totally sorry for being such a bonehead, I'll say it one more time.
Deal. I think you were forgetting something?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. I asked for 3 mics because I feel like you need to hear me from 3 different. No, because I would love to have come up here Sarah, Cynthia and Devin, and Jair to come and talk about the film. Not just because I like seeing you guys. I do like seeing you guys, but it'd be fantastic if you could come up. Here you go. Here you go. And Sarah. All right. And Devin's not here? Oh, that's a bummer. All right. So, you guys all worked on the film in different roles, which, incidentally, before I forget, because I'm going to forget if I don't do this right now, we'd also like to thank Rima and Terry from the Irondale Theater, who donated the door and the step that you saw. So a little round of applause for the Irondale Theater down the street here on Lafayette. So the 3 of you are fulfilled some of the roles in the film. Sarah, you were on the camera team. Is that right? No. Which you were in production, which I should know because I was supervising the production team. Sorry. So this film is very different from our first film in that there's a lot of movement to it, and we've got the scenic elements to it. And as I was saying before we started, there's some differences there with the first film in terms of production and planning it. How did that affect? How did the changes, the differences here affect planning the days from the production standpoint?
All right. Hi, everyone. Hi. So, yeah, production. And I wanted to say that, like, the classmates and I felt really eager to work on this movie, yes, in terms of production and camera movement. So I was not part of the camera team, but I really wish I did. I was in production, which is the most, let's say, less creative part, but as important, just because everything that gets done throughout the day is planned beforehand, and that was me. So I do appreciate the opportunity to be part of the team in that sense. I think I wanted to make sure that all the collaborators were able to learn and to manipulate the things that each individual wanted, and that's I think the most difficult part is everyone wants to take ownership in some aspect, and we have to work together, right? So I think in production, I managed to have everyone be able to, put their imprint on the film. That's
great.
What?
That's great. Yeah. So Cynthia, you did work on the camera team. I just double checked. Somebody did. Somebody worked on the camera because we shot it.
Yeah.
I got that much right. So Cynthia, how did the changes, the blocking, the movement? There's a lot of movement in this. How did that impact the way you shot? Also, the fact that unlike the first one, this is a comedy. How did that affect the tone, or how you shot, like the change in tone? How did that affect, like, decisions that the camera team made?
Well, Jair and I both were on the camera team. I think the blocking made us immediately think that we wanted the camera to be moving and not still. And part of that also is because with comedies, we were referencing shows like The Office or like Edgar Wright films, which rely a lot on the visuals for the comedy, not just the lines. We didn't want it to be still. We wanted the visuals to also be able to echo whatever the lines were happening. So we got, as Sarah kind of mentioned, we tried to get really crazy with the shots, and she kind of had to like rein us in to see like, oh no, is that reasonable within the time we had? But yeah, but at the same time, we got a lot of opportunity to kind of just go wild with what we wanted. We had changing pulled focus. We got to everything was, except for a few shots, everything was basically handheld with a shoulder rig. Nothing was really on tripod. So it was a lot of fun to be on the camera team, but also it was a challenge because we had a lot of ideas that we didn't necessarily have the technical skills to pull off. So it was a lot of experimenting and a lot of focusing many times to get it right. Yeah, what do you think, Jair?
I feel the same. Yeah, we did have to experiment a bit because there was a lot of motion. We did have to get creative. We had to think of some of our favorite comedic references.
Yeah.
In terms of how we wanted to shoot it and just have fun with the tone. So that was cool.
Yeah, I'm particularly fond of the shot when you're talking about pulling focus. The shot of the underwear in the frame, and then it changes focus to her. I think that's a good bit of visual comedy that I believe the camera team came up with. And if you didn't, just take credit for it, because that's how that works. Yeah. So Jair, I was given a lengthy question, so I actually have to read this one. Having worked on mostly documentary projects prior to this, what do you think were some of the advantages and disadvantages of working with a large crew? How will this affect the way you make films in the future?
Okay. Ooh. Okay. Well, yeah, for the most part, I've really only worked with documentary projects and maybe some experimental stuff, but never something like this. So it did kind of show me how to work with more of a crew, how to work with more people, how to be more collaborative, because in all the other things I did before, it was just more like a one-man army. I was given a camera and they were just go, do your own thing. You set your story, film, edit. I had to do everything on my own. And I just realized that's not very common in the film industry. So being in this class did give me more exposure to a multifaceted aspect of how to make a film, which is really cool. A disadvantage, maybe, I guess everybody wants their own thing. Everybody wants to be hey, I want to be the one who makes this decision, but you also have a bunch of different decisions, and you need to take that into consideration. Be okay, we can compromise on this. Let's do this. Let's do that, and really taught me how to be more of a team player, because before I was just doing everything on my own. So in terms of how I'm gonna make films in the future, it did teach me how to take more people's feelings into consideration and how to work with others, because I don't want to be a hack. I don't want to be somebody who's just what I say goes and that's it. I want to be a filmmaker who's fair, I just want to be a team player. So this is what this film taught me. Thank you.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Thank you all for coming up, for working on the film. Another round of applause for them and everybody who worked on the films.
I only need one microphone. How about that? That was phenomenal. Thank you guys. Great work. We only have one more film tonight for you. So before we jump ahead, I wanted to take a minute and, excuse me, I'm not emotional, I just dry throat. I wanted to take a minute to talk about a few people that we didn't really get a chance to highlight just by watching the films, except with their exceptional work. And those two people are Jessica Curiel Montoya, who is very popular. Jessica is a cinematographer, director of photography. She is currently on vacation, I guess, visiting her family in Mexico, where she's from. She's a really amazingly talented freelance filmmaker, shoots a lot of stuff, and she supervised and taught this group of wonderful people how to shoot films and to work on films. And I think they'll all agree that she's very intense, she's very no nonsense, and she's a lot of fun. So we wish you were here, Jessica. Thank you so much. I'll take the clap and pass it on to her. The other thing, as Shawana mentioned earlier, the thing that often goes unnoticed and is critically important in filmmaking is sound. In some ways, it's more important than image. Don't at me. I tried, guys. Thanks, Sean. Thank you. So I wanted to have Andrei Radovsky, who is here tonight, come down and talk a little bit about the sound for these films and the work that he did. Andrei and I know each other from City College, where we both went to school, and we've worked together professionally before the class, and so I was really glad that he could come join us. Welcome, Andrei Radovsky. Hey, bud.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. And so I'm a professional sound engineer, and for the past, let's say, about 6 years, I've been working mostly as been working exclusively as a freelancer in film sound. I guess not completely exclusively. I've done also a lot of theater work, and in film, I've done both feature films and narrative films. And commercial work as well. And I was very excited to have this opportunity to share a little bit of knowledge about sound with our students in Cinematography class. And it was exciting because I think it was a great opportunity for people to, for everybody in class to learn a bit about sound and to learn about working with sound people on a film set, because a big part of this class is not just technical knowledge and gaining technical skills, but also gaining knowledge of sort of set etiquette and the working dynamics that usually are present on set, because if you've been on film set, there are a lot of different roles. Everybody has a specific role to play, and everybody needs to work together as a team and be excellent on their own, but also be excellent at working with other departments, and know what is an appropriate moment to make a decision on your own, and when you need to consult with a specific department about it. Just to say a couple of things about the process and how it went for the class. I got to do a class on sound in film in more broad terms, and also about technical specifics for everybody who was in class, but also for each film I got to work with a smaller group of students. Was 2 students that were doing on my sound team for each of the films, which I think makes great sense, because not everybody's gonna want to become, a sound recordist on film, but I think it's important for almost anybody, any filmmaker, to be at least aware of what goes into recording sound. And I think the exciting part too was that usually on film set, you don't have the luxury of time to really do purposeful learning or purposeful teaching, because you get on set and it's just go time. And we had moments where we could actually stop and like examine what we're doing and why are we doing it. And so after we, for each film, got to supervise on 2 rehearsals, and then on the shooting day, the students were doing the work, and I got to basically direct the work and do a little bit of quality control, and you know, point out things that they should be thinking of while recording sound or even while making a film in general. And then I got to come in for a very quick overview of post-production process and sound, because that's the other half of sound, and actually post-production determines a lot of time the way the film sounds in the end. And yeah, I'm glad for this opportunity, and was really happy to meet all of the students, and excited to see the 2 films that we just saw and the one coming up. So that's all I got to say. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, yes, we have one more film for you. And I'm not going to introduce it because I'm up here too much. Portia Krieger and Gary Winter, will you please come to the stage to introduce Freezer? Hi. Yeah, you have to enter from the wing. Where's Gary? There he is. Okay.
Are you going to ask us a question?
I can ask you a question. So let me ask you a question. Let's be in the center. She's a theater director, ladies and gentlemen. So what was it like doing this for a second time as opposed to the first time, Portia?
Ooh, good question, Liam. I'm very uncomfortable talking into a microphone. All right, I'm over it. So the first time I did this, I was the director of the play, but not the director of the film. And so I rehearsed much more than we did. And it was a solo piece. It was really just me and this amazing woman, Jen Armis, getting into this piece that she wrote. And then the class was smaller. Maybe not. The class felt...
the group was small.
Yep, the group was smaller.
Smaller group.
And it was interesting because it felt like they were the authors of the film. So I sort of was present for the shoot, which was only one day. But I did not have sort of creative input into the film. I only was in control of what was being filmed. And this time I was the director of the film. You know, you were there with me. And that was really exciting for me because, as Liam said, I'm a theater director. Gary's a playwright. And I think that the thing for me that I'm sort of like excited to see on this very large screen behind me is, as Liam said, like what we're supposed to be doing here is black box filmmaking. And Gary's play, for me, is really like steeped in location and in this sort of isolation of being in like a really dreary work environment. And so I'm excited to see sort of how this resolves, because we did not end up shooting in front of a black curtain. We sort of like took the production design thing in a different direction than the film that you just saw. And I'm really still learning about the like how all of that sorts out. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Gary, do you want to talk a little bit, because I know this play has a certain film. It's a film. It's not a play. Has a certain it is both. Has a certain autobiographical quality. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it was based on a true experience that happened when I was working on a fishing barge in Alaska, and the play called for it to be set in Brooklyn, so I just kind of transferred it to Brooklyn. But I thought it transferred well. It was more about the themes and the ideas in the play that really was concerned with when I wrote it. So yeah, all this stuff actually happened, but I happened to be on a barge in Alaska, working 16 hours a day and feeling horrible.
What were you doing?
I was just putting fish into a freezer, like these guys.
Putting fish into a freezer.
A lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
So it was exciting to see this.
So yeah, have you seen it yet? You haven't seen this yet.
I've not seen it. Yeah.
They haven't seen it yet. Whoa. Anything else you guys would like to add? Okay, all right. No, let's watch the film. Thank you very much.
Having a good time, Brooklyn?
Define good time. Why do you keep calling me Brooklyn?
You're new in town. It's my job to make you feel welcome.
When will you stop calling me Brooklyn?
When it feels right.
How will you know?
I'll know when you stop talking about all the interesting people you see on the subways.
But they are interesting. You just don't notice it anymore.
Damn straight I don't. And believe me, they're not so interesting.
Well, it's all new to me.
Yeah, I get that, Brooklyn.
I hope Janet's okay.
She's a cowboy. She'll live.
I saw her when she fell off the freight elevator. That cart with 2,000 pounds of frozen fish on top of her. Oh, I thought she was dead.
She knew she wasn't supposed to be riding that thing when the fish cart is on it. Girl's always trying to show how tough she is.
I can't bend my fingers.
Life's rough.
This job really fucks with your body.
You're just a summer hire, Brooklyn. Some folks do this work for a living. Have a little consideration and don't complain, okay?
Okay.
Why don't you ask the Lord for help for those fingers?
My people are taught to suffer in silence.
Your people?
The Hebrews.
Say again?
I'm Jewish?
Why didn't you say Jewish? Fuck do I know from Hebrew?
I was just...
Wait. Why do the Hebrews gotta suffer in silence?
Why?
Yeah, it seems counterproductive.
Tradition!
Pretty fucked up tradition if you ask me.
Yeah, it keeps us motivated.
You funny, Brooklyn.
Yeah, I know. You believe in God, Chaz?
Yes, I do.
That's interesting.
Is it?
You don't strike me as religious.
Did I say I was religious?
You said you believed.
I said I believed in God. I didn't say I was religious.
Oh, okay.
God in, religion out. What was that?
I'm couch surfing. No permanent home. I have my mail sent here.
That is sad, Brooklyn.
My dad.
How about that? Folks still write letters.
He has this idea in his head that I need to keep track of everyone I grew up with.
I heard Janet's gonna live.
All right. Told you she's a cowboy.
She's busted many bones, has some internal bleeding, but she's out of danger for now.
All right.
I wonder how long she'll be out.
The company fired her. Yeah, they said she can be here as long as she needs the insurance, but she's not coming back. She knew she shouldn't have been on that elevator. She fucked up.
So what's Pop got to say for himself?
Kid from the building I grew up in died.
Oh. How'd that go down?
Dear Gil, you remember your friend Damien? I have sad news. His mother died last year. Then his father died about a month ago. We thought Damien had moved out, but it seems like he was still living with them. The neighbors hadn't seen him in a while, and they started to smell something bad from his parents' apartment, so they called the cops. They broke in and found Damien lying behind the couch with a needle in his head. Most of the furniture was gone. Looks like he was selling it to pay for his drugs or the rent. Everyone knew Damien wasn't right in the head, but who figured he was a doper?
Damn, that's a shame. Sorry, Brooklyn.
Every time I went back to the old neighborhood and saw Damien, he had a different story, different job, different home, different girlfriend. He was always lying.
Did you know he was a doper?
No, I knew he was a troubled guy, but I didn't know he was using. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. We knew each other since we were kids. I always thought he'd get his act together.
I've been in denial about a few friends myself. Sometimes it's hard to think the worst of people.
Maybe he's better off.
One of God's little creatures didn't work out, so we ship him back. You think maybe he was suffering?
I suppose. I don't think I could have helped him. Can we ever?
Sometimes we can. Sometimes we can't. Anyone gonna miss him?
I don't know.
Will you?
I don't think so.
Gone, like the wind. Whoosh.
You hate to think that.
But you do.
That no one would remember you.
Nice of your dad to send the good news.
Yeah, he's good like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. How about another round of applause for that film? So before we jump into the Q&A, I just want to take a minute and mention very briefly that all of our programs here it's part of Brooklyn Free Speech, which is a public access thing. And for those of you who don't know too much about public access, the funding for public access comes from cable companies that have to pay and because they are using public infrastructure to send their corporate signals, and a certain amount of money has to be allocated to the resources to allow folks like the people in this class and the people you see on screen and the people that live in Brooklyn to be allowed to make things and to share them with the world. And believe it or not, with what's currently going on politically in this country, there's a smaller window and less resources being allocated to that. So in addition to all the things that we all have to be worried about, please keep your eye on things like public access because it's an important public good and we need to preserve it. Woo, woo. I got so excited that I forgot who's coming up for this film. Hang on.
People who worked on
Sean Vamp. Vamp
What?
Sean. I'm holding two
I don't know what that
microphones.
means. It's
Helen
Hannah
Herbert.
Helen.
Maya Jeffries, Junaid Inam, and Hannah Perry, please, come on. Should we be on opposites? What do you want to do?
That's what I was thinking. We flank them.
Okay, I'm going to give a
They
microphone
can't escape
to
if we do it this way.
someone.
Is Junaid
Is
here yet?
Junaid was here. I
He was
saw
just
him.
here.
Okay,
He'll
I'm gonna
probably,
give,
he'll
I'm gonna
probably
give
be
Helen the
in
microphone.
a minute.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Congratulations on the film. Helen, can we start a little bit with you and Maya to talk a little bit about the, you guys were a production team on this film, so how'd you plan it? How'd you make it work? How'd you get all this coverage in the 2 days that you had?
Well, we had the wonderful benefit of watching everybody else go through the process of being assistant director and production manager. So I feel like by the time we got to it, we had some ideas of what we would want to do, building off of what everybody else did. Let's see, how did we start it?
You know, I think something that we noticed was communication and how working on a film set, we have these different departments, but often the departments aren't talking to each other. So it's really important for the leadership, the production team to be good communicators. So I feel like that was something that we were thinking a lot about, was like coordinating back and forth between different like sound, camera, set design, and then also something that was important was having morning meetings when we were on the film set. So we just wanted to have everyone together the day of the shoot so that everyone was on the same page and knew what was happening. So a lot of it was communication, and then I think like what Helen said, learning how to organize the day based on what we had learned previously.
Right, and we also created a system where we knew that Maya was going to be lead editor, which she did an incredible amount of work on this film. Tasha and I were also on that team for editing. Yes. You can clap. But also because we knew it was really, I think it was really satisfying to be able to know what each setup and shot was called, and then get into the editing room and be able to say, oh, I actually want setup 8 for this next clip. And so it really streamlined the entire process for us. Because it's kind of difficult when you're shooting a short film, you don't really have different scenes. And so we had to kind of develop over this class a way of going about it. And so we started calling it setup 1 and setup 2 and setup 3 instead of scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. So that helped.
Oh, something I want to add. Helen created a really good system with the camera diagram.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that was Jessica's idea. But thank you. No, I should take the credit, right, Sean?
Always take
the credit. It was my idea, influenced by Jessica. She blew my mind with making a camera map of all your setups. And so it's literally like a little diagram of the set. And then you draw a little camera for every setup that you had. And we walked through it with Portia. And Portia, our director, she's wonderful. Yes, clap for Portia. I'm a little nervous, so I'm talking fast. But please clap when you feel the need to clap. So we walked through it with Portia, and we all really knew prior to the shoot date what was being shot, which I think might be a good segue for Hannah being camera.
Yeah, totally. Hannah, can you talk a little bit about being on the camera team, this being the third film, and having worked in other capacities, and a little bit about what you learned on the camera team?
So taking what Helen was saying, I wasn't actually around for the second film, but I was on the first.
Right.
And you know, there was some, I think it was our first film, so there was quite a few decisions made on the day of shooting, both like day 1, day 2. And the third one just felt really kind of streamlined. Everyone knew what they were doing. We all had everything laid out the day before. And it meant we actually got a lot of time to play around. So we got some fun shots. So you saw at the end, there was a dolly shot, which we didn't actually have a dolly. So that is someone stood on a little kind of like a skateboard.
A platform?
It's
a furniture dolly.
Yeah, and then someone just pulling them behind. Yeah, just. Yeah, that was like a 4-person job just to try and get that last shot. And then we had like something up high as well, which didn't quite make it into the last edit. But having that streamlined process and have done the other films just meant we got to kind of try some different things, which was really fun and kind of part of the experience, I think. You know, a lot of us had a bit of film experience before or shooting experience, but very little experience about even just thinking of those different shots. I think when you're doing a documentary film or for something for news, you just want to get in there and get out with you know, whatever shot you've got. But this has really opened, I think, everyone's minds to what's possible. And that's only really possible with a team as well. If you're just doing it one person, you know, you're never going to have time to do that. So it's been a really kind of interesting learning experience. And yeah, seeing them up on the big screen is really cool.
Woo, right?
I have a question.
Sean has a question.
I have a question. For Maya. Maya, as was said, you were the lead editor for this film. So you led the editing. I'm curious if you could tell these folks a little bit about the post-production process that we went through for it, how it worked for you, what kind of, because as Hannah was mentioning, there's a fancy shot that we decided not to use. Maybe take us a little bit through the decision-making process for that.
Okay, sure. So we had a few weeks to edit. It was structured by Liam and Sean, where we would go through like the assembly and putting all the footage together, and the rough cut, and our fine cut, and then our final cut. Something that was helpful was having worked on production with Helen. We had come up with this like very organized system, and so I just used the same naming of the scenes and shots in the file names, so we knew exactly what was what, like Helen was mentioning. That helped. I think something that was important for me was working with Tasha and Helen, who are both actors. I come from a visual arts background, and I've edited more documentary and experimental stuff, but not narrative before. And so working with Helen and Tasha, who are actors, they recommended looking for the best performances and pulling from there. So that was a helpful guideline for me in editing. And then it became really about like, well, what is the story? What is the emotion? How do we go on a kind of narrative arc with these characters? And so in terms of choosing the different shots for different parts of the narrative, I was thinking a lot about their psychological space and then the distance that we would have from them or to them. So that was helpful. What else do I want to say about editing? Sound is so hard. Oh my goodness. Andre. Like, editing I can do, but sound, oh my goodness. So that's underrated, but it's like the hardest part. And yeah, any other thoughts on our editing process?
Why did you choose not to use that shot?
Oh,
Which can you tell which shot you're talking about?
So there's a shot that, well, actually, you describe the shot.
Yeah, it was a bird's eye shot. So it was actually Jessica who did it. And so she climbed up to the top of a ladder, and we kind of passed up the camera. And it was to try and, I think it was to, from that angle, it was to make them feel quite small and isolated and kind of looked down on a little bit. So they felt quite small at that point. And I think particularly it was when he first came in and stood on his own and towards the end. But I mean, not every shot always works for the edit. And I think that was something that we just kind of got to try out, and not everything works out.
A lot of those shots were really led by Portia. The opening shot of Seth, the actor. All the actors are excellent. Seth, Donaldo, Heather, wonderful. But the opening shot on Seth, Portia walked us all through what he was thinking, so we were all aware of what he was thinking of prior to the actual film starting. And then the tracking back was also a thing that Portia wanted, and so we did our best to solve the problem. So yeah, a lot of it was definitely led by Portia, who had a lot of really great ideas about it. And Junaid's here!
Junaid. Hi, Junaid. Hi, how are you? Good, I forget my question for you. Hang on, do you remember your question? Okay, you want to introduce yourself and then talk about it? Okay.
Hi guys, my name is Junaid. Sorry I'm late. Yeah, I wanted to make a grand entrance. It didn't work. Yeah. So on the first film, I remember my question. On the first film, I was in the sound, so I worked with Andre, and I learned really cool things about sound. And I was very fascinated by the whole, procedure, how you take sound and you combine it, you sync it with the audio, with the video. I'm sorry. So it was very interesting. And on the second film. I worked on the production side where we discussed the plan and how we're gonna move from one scene to the other, So the whole thing we discussed that. I learned how we're gonna split the script. So all of that, everything was entirely new to me, and I had so many questions, and I kept bugging, Liam, and he was so patient. He was always there to answer any questions. And in the last film, I was on the camera team, and I felt like it was also challenging because I remember getting onto the ladder and then taking a over the god shot, bird's eye view. That's what we did. You can still see I'm still learning. And that was very interesting. I did the camera. I remember we did one scene where we had to move the camera on the dolly, and I remember just having the cable in my hand and moving like this, like we were just stealing something. So the whole procedure, the whole experience was very interesting, and I learned a lot. And I hope that you guys enjoy what we did. Thank you.
Say that again. Yeah, I want you to talk. I was actually just going to ask you about that. Well, you're right here right now. So yeah, Helen. So I met you. We have not had a great chance to talk about production design, and you supervised production design on 2 of the 3 films, Stillwater and Where'd You Go? So would you like to chat about that briefly? Thank you.
Sure. Considering I just whispered in your ear. Is it okay if Shawana and Jonathan come up, because they did production design on Freezer, so I think it would be fun to hear what we all say about it. Yeah. Yes, we're all going to end up on stage by the end of this. So I did production design for Stillwater and Where'd You Go, and obviously they're 2 very different films. While Stillwater was much more simplistic and neutral, there were still a lot of details that I wanted to have come across on screen. I'm an actress, and so I also have a bit of a background in costume design, where I've worked on costumes throughout my time in New York. And so you want to be able to show that I wanted to be able to show that Mrs. Cho was maybe of a higher class, and that Christine was American, and that Mr. Beck maybe is a little slicker than he appears. And in the same way, Where'd You Go? It had more to do with the environment of what time of day is this, and what just happened, and they're in robes and in their yoga clothes because something just happened and it's morning on a Sunday when this starts. So those were the elements. The door, Hannah and I painted. We got from Irondale, and then we painted. The platform, Liam and Sean and a bunch of people put together. And then there were also some fun, happy accidents, like we turned around on Where'd You Go from looking at the porch to turning around to the other side and realizing that we really had no design in place. And so Emily, who was the director for that film, asked me to design some trash on the fly, which was really fun to do as well. So those were all the elements. But Jonathan and Shawana did Freezer, so here. Microphones. Oh, yes.
Well, I have to say that Helen, you led the way on this for those first 2 films. Helen would come to class with sketchbooks of characters and had this all planned out. So she was really a guiding light in that process for those of us who had not. I don't know, Shawana, if you'd ever done production design, but I know I was up late on Google like, okay, it's gonna be in a break room. What do break rooms look like? As if I had not worked in a place where there was break rooms. But I have, so I knew what the break room looked like, but I wanted to make sure that I did the due diligence to do that. Portia and the writer of the script, Gary, provided pictures of when, I believe it was of Gary, when he was on that barge in Alaska, putting those fish in that freezer. So I was online looking for things that matched that, and there was a lot of drama behind that, but eventually it all worked out as you saw on the film, so it was all good. But Helen, you made it look so easy, and it's a tough job.
Yeah, I agree. Helen, you led the way. She did the first 2 plays, and it just looked so easy. It just looked like, oh, she's doing but for when it was my turn, I was like, oh, it's really not that easy. You did a great job with as far as wardrobe, the robes, the slippers, like, you know, like the characters, they were just dressed so right for, like both, even the jacket. You had like a suit jacket. You had a suit jacket. Oh, what I did on Freezer? Okay.
Yeah, talk about yourself.
No, for real. The letter.
Take the credit.
That was, it debuted, it was about 5 seconds, but the letter took up the most of the day.
You had
It
to
was
handwrite
the
that letter.
star of the shoot. We had to write various letters, and then Seth, who's a great actor, by the way, he crumbled up the letter so good and just tossed it in the garbage. I was like, oh, every time, because then we had to get a fresh letter, a fresh envelope, take the stamp out of the garbage, put it back on the thing, because we only had one stamp we were working with. Yeah, so it was.
It really is an involved process.
It is.
You have to rewrite the letter. In the first film, they had tea. We had to make sure it was, well, Helen had to make sure it was hot all the time. Yeah. In the second film, there was a garbage can in the background, and we just had to make sure the garbage was, it's super, like, these are things that you probably don't think about when you're watching films, but like even the big AAA, big budget movies, like they have to make sure that they have script continuity.
That's right.
And they have to make sure that everything's in place. And when it doesn't have it, it sticks out. And like I went back and started watching movies after we did this, and I was like, Chris Tucker in that movie where it's him and Charlie Sheen or whatever, and like Money Talks, whatever that movie was, and like there's a scene where like he's handcuffed to the guy, but then in the camera cuts and they're not handcuffed anymore, and I'm like, there it is right there, like no continuity. Props, y'all, props. Yeah. So yeah, no, it was quite the experience, and I gained a whole appreciation for it, especially working on Freezer. I wasn't able to be there, so I want to shout out Shawana for being there on the 2 days of the shoot. I was out somewhere else, a concert,
you were
but
there
it was pre-planned.
before, and he ordered like the wardrobe, everything. That was all Jonathan. He ordered the wardrobe. He chose everything, and it was just perfect for what I thought for the film. So.
Well, it feels like it's a lot to keep track of, and it sounds like you have a new appreciation for how complicated it is. So
yes.
Amazing. We are out of films, but there's one more thing we have to do. If you were involved with any of the making of the 3 films that we just watched, would you please come up on stage?
Actors, directors.
Actors, directors, playwrights, human beings. I just want to, we're going to try something here. I just want to give everyone out there a sense of the scope of this thing, because this isn't even everybody who was involved. Hi, Mark. Yeah, we're not going to fit here. She's coming, and we still have a few more people coming up. Hi. Good. So I just want to. I'm not going to talk very much more than I already have, but I just want to say that it's a real privilege to have been able to supervise this and have it happen, and you all did amazing work, and this is what Brooklyn is all about. So take a bow, please, ladies and gentlemen. Now everyone's going to answer a question. No, I'm kidding. Thank you very much. We are finished for the evening. If you want to talk to these guys, come grab them. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I need the microphones.